Welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? This is your go-to source for practical advice and support when considering if a divorce is the right answer for you. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll uncover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here is your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst Professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to focus on a pretty critical concern for any parent considering divorce, and that is really the health and well-being of your children. Now, divorce, we know, is very stressful and can be a confusing time for everyone involved, and even children especially are vulnerable to all this stress and confusion. Let's explore some key strategies to really help you stay healthy during this transition, because the emotional toll is going to be, significant for all involved. And when we look at divorce, it really does trigger a range of emotions in children, not much different than adults. And that is, things like sadness and anger, anxiety, and even confusion. These emotions can manifest in physical ways. You might see changes in sleep patterns, eating habits, or even a decline in school performance. Some children may experience headaches and stomach aches, become more prone to illness. So one of the things we can do to really help with all this is really maintaining some kind of routine. We want to stick to, really regular sleep schedules, meal times, extracurricular activities as much as you can. Things happen, you can't always do it, but really this sense of normalcy provides stability and comfort for your kids. We want to keep the lines of communication open. Talk to your children openly and honestly about the divorce. You want to use age appropriate language and avoid really talking ill of your ex. Let them know they are loved and safe, and neither parent is really to blame. It's important for children to express their emotions in a healthy way. We want to do this by creating a safe space for them to talk about their feelings, whether it's through conversation, drawing, writing. Consider individual or family therapy also. It really can help them process their emotions constructively. Now, on the medical side of things, we're going to have to, maintain our health insurance. That's always important. Ensure all children remain covered under appropriate health insurance plans. Determine how the cost will be shared if you have a copay or deductible with your ex-spouse. Consistent medical records. Keep copies of everything. All medical records readily available for both parents, especially if custody arrangements involve switching homes. And then open communication with healthcare providers. Inform your children's healthcare providers about the divorce. This allows them to better understand and address any potential health concerns related to the stress of the situation. Now, you got to remember you're a team. Even though your relationship is changing, remember you're still a team when it comes to your children's well-being. Communicate openly with your ex regarding doctor's appointments and medication schedules. Consider, a shared online calendar or a communication app to keep everyone on the same page. Divorce, as we know, is a very challenging journey, but prioritizing your children's health, both physical and emotional, you can help navigate this difficult time. Remember, resources are available to help. Individual therapy for children, co-parenting classes, support groups even. Don't be afraid to seek additional guidance. I'd like to thank you for joining me on this episode of Is Divorce the Answer? Breaking Ties series. And should you have any questions on today's topic or other financial planning issues, feel free. Leave a comment or contact me using the information in the description. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Take care. Hi, and welcome back to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to explore legal separation. It is a potential stepping stone or an alternative to divorce. So divorce isn't always the answer when a marriage hits a rough patch. Legal separation offers a middle ground, allowing a period of separation while still remaining legally married. But is it the right option for you? Well, let's weigh the pros and cons of this. Let's start with the pros of legal separation. First, the benefits. Legal separation allows you and your spouse to live apart, address financial issues, and potentially work through marital problems. It can provide a trial separation period to see if space can rekindle the spark or solidify your decision to move on. Finances are a major consideration. Separation allows you to establish separate finances, protecting your credit score and assets. You can determine child support and custody arrangements without the finality of divorce. Religion and cultural beliefs can also play a role. For some, divorce is not an option. Legal separation offers a way to live separately while adhering to those beliefs. Additionally, some benefits like health insurance may hinge on remaining married, and separation allows you to keep those benefits. On to the cons of legal separation. Of course, there's downsides. Legally, you're still married. This means limitations. You can't remarry, and depending on your location, inheritance rights might be affected. You'll likely still have to file joint tax returns until the separation is finalized through a divorce. Emotionally, legal separation can be a state of limbo. It might prolong uncertainty, and navigating holidays or family events together can be awkward. Additionally, the legal fees associated with separation can actually be significant, especially if you don't have a clear agreement on finances or child custody. So ultimately, the decision to separate legally depends on your specific circumstances. And you're going to want to consider some questions. For example, is there a chance for reconciliation? How important are financial considerations like health insurance or joint assets? Are there religious or cultural beliefs that influence your decision? And are you both committed to open communication and working towards an amicable agreement? If you are leaning towards legal separation, consulting with a lawyer experienced in family law is critical. They can guide you through the legal process, outline your rights and obligations, and help you draft a separation agreement that addresses your individual needs. So, legal separation can be a valuable tool for couples navigating a difficult stage in their marriage. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution, though. However, understanding the pros and cons can help you determine if it's the right path for you. Remember, prioritize open communication with your spouse and seek professional legal guidance throughout the process. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties. Is divorce the answer? Should you have any questions on today's topic or other financial planning issues, please feel free to drop a comment or contact me. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Take care. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Ties. Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we've got another one of those special episodes called Mike Unscripted. And this is where I don't have outlines and I don't have scripts or anything to read from. I'm just going to share my thoughts on a particular topic. And today's topic is really, when you're looking at considering a divorce, it's exhausting all the other options first. So divorce is a very difficult time to go through for the entire family. Takes a big emotional toll. Costs can be expensive if you don't have an amicable divorce. And even if it is amicable, it's still just as challenging. The court process itself is pretty difficult and brutal. I do recommend that you do have an attorney as a resource to use that specializes in divorces in your area, because really the number of different things that happen in your area from laws and ordinances and stuff is, you really got to be on top of your game, and an attorney is going to help you do that. So, but when we talk about exhausting all other options, I mean, you want to do things like maybe couples therapy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There again, both spouses have to be open and receptive to the idea. of working on the marriage. The marriage itself is very tricky. It's not the easiest thing to do, and people are different. And so, if you want to remain a couple, then you're going to have to learn to speak the other couple's language, or help reduce stress or anxiety, whatever happens to be the issues of each person in the couple. There, I have a podcast, a segment on legal separation. It's a trial run of being separated. Do you miss the other person? Do you not? Gives you an idea of all the things that you'll have to tackle when you are divorced, from kids to living arrangements to anything else that takes place when you're legally separated. And then really, if you're still not there, if it doesn't still work, there is nothing wrong with getting a divorce. And it's just kind of one of those things that you really want to make sure is the final outcome and not the first outcome. If you have a sliver of hope that the relationship can be saved, and you can reignite the spark and stuff. People have done it. It happens. But it's going to take change on, I believe, both people's part. It's not just one person changing to conform to the other person. It's both people have to change and adjust to each other to make each other happy. It's not a one-way street. It shouldn't be a one-way street. And so you can really make a lot of progress if you want to, and it can happen. It happens, people do it all the time. But also, if it doesn't happen, there's a lot of support out there, a lot of ways to get through the process, and you'll get through it. And it'll be challenging and difficult and tiresome. But in the end, if you couldn't make things work with your ex, then it's the right choice. And it's going to put you in a happier state, and it's going to make things better for the family overall. So that's it for this episode of Mike Unscripted. I hope you enjoyed it. This part of the Breaking Ties is Divorce the Answer series. And if you have any questions, I always say contact me. So you can drop a comment, reach out. I'm happy to help answer whatever I can, point you in the right direction if I can't. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Have yourself a good day. Hello, and welcome back to Breaking Ties is Divorce the Answer. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to tackle a topic that often gets overshadowed during the emotional whirlwind of a divorce, and that is what happens to the family pet. Our furry or feathered or scaled friends really do become integral parts of the family. They offer unconditional love, companionship, and sometimes even comic relief. But when a marriage unravels, the question of pet custody can become another point of contention. So let's take a look at some of these key points to consider. First, understand the difference between shared responsibility and primary care. Can you imagine shuffling Fido back and forth every other week? Very disruptive for him. Inconvenient for you as well. Often there's a primary caretaker who provides the bulk of the daily needs: walking, feeding, vet visits. Now, let's think about your pet-specific needs. Is it a high-maintenance dog who requires a fenced yard and daily walks? An anxious cat who thrives on routine? Uprooting their environment can be quite stressful. Joint custody might not be ideal, especially if living situations dramatically differ. Now, this is where open communication with your soon-to-be ex is pretty critical. Discuss your concerns for the pet's well-being. If tensions are high, consider mediation. There are even services specializing in pet custody agreements. And let's be honest, pets cost money. Food, vet bills, training, these expenses need to be factored into the discussion as well. Will you split the cost proportionally, or will the primary caretaker shoulder the burden? Consider these details in your divorce settlement. Remember, it's not just about you. Ultimately, the goal is to prioritize your pet's happiness and well-being. Don't get caught up in using the pet as a bargaining chip. Now, there are some alternative solutions that might be available, and that is shared visitation. So arrange regular visits with the non-primary caretaker, and this can help maintain that bond. There's also pet sitting services. So if living situations change, consider hiring pet sitters to ensure continuity in care. And then there's consider rehoming. And while this is an extremely difficult decision to make, but really, if neither person can provide the best environment, responsible rehoming with someone you trust might be the kindest option. Divorce is a difficult process, but by prioritizing your pet's well-being and communicating openly, you can ensure a smooth transition for everyone involved, even the furry or feathered or scaled ones. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? Should you have a question on today's topic or other financial planning issues, feel free to drop them in the comments or reach out and contact me. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Have a good day. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to dive into an alternative dispute resolution process. It's called collaborative divorce. So if you're considering divorce, traditional litigation might not be the best fit for everyone. It can be expensive, adversarial, and take a significant emotional toll. Collaborative divorce offers a different approach, focusing on respect, communication, and reaching a fair settlement outside the courtroom. So how does it work? We're going to break that down. Well, it starts with your collaborative team. The cornerstone, really, of a collaborative divorce is the team itself. You and your spouse each have a lawyer specializing in collaborative divorce. These attorneys are trained in negotiation and communication, aiming to keep things civil. Additionally, depending on your needs, you might involve a financial expert or a child specialist to navigate complex issues. Now, before diving in, you'll all sign a participation agreement. And this outlines the commitment to collaborative divorce. It includes a no court clause, meaning if either party decides to go to court, both collaborative attorneys have to withdraw and you'll need new legal representation. This clause incentivizes working together towards an amicable solution. As you hear a lot on my episodes, communication is key, open communication, sharing information, and it couldn't be more so in collaborative divorce because it thrives on transparency. Full financial disclosure is critical. Both parties share all relevant documents, and that includes things like bank statements, property deeds, tax returns, and that's going to ensure a fair division of assets and debts. You'll have a series of joint meetings with your team, focusing on identifying shared goals and concerns. Now, we're really into negotiation as opposed to fighting. I mean, the focus here is not winning or losing, but on crafting a settlement that works for both of you, especially if there are children involved. The lawyers act as facilitators, guiding the conversation and proposing solutions that address your individual needs. Open communication and respectful negotiation are really key to reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. Speaking of reaching an agreement, once you've got that agreement on all aspects of divorce, whether it's property division, child custody, spousal maintenance, both collaborative attorneys will draft a formal settlement agreement. And then this document outlines all the agreed upon terms and will be submitted to the court for final approval. Now, is collaborative divorce right for you? Well, collaborative divorce can be a great option for couples who are committed to civility and open communication throughout the process. It can be less expensive and sometimes faster than traditional litigation. And it really prioritizes the well-being of children caught in the middle also. However, it's not for everyone. It requires a strong commitment for both partners to work together in good faith. If there's a history of abuse or significant power imbalance, this approach might not be suitable. If you're contemplating divorce and collaborative divorce sounds like a potential path, the next step is to really consult with an attorney specializing in collaborative divorce. They can assess your situation and guide you towards the most suitable course of action. Remember, divorce is a difficult decision and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. So take your time, explore your options, and prioritize your well-being throughout this process. That's it for today's episode. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? Should you have any questions on today's topic or other financial planning issues, feel free to drop a comment or contact me using the information. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. All the best.